I have a new host code that starts today and runs through October 31st, 2021. The new host code is up on the screen. It's on a banner there. I'll leave it up for a moment. But if you spend 50 or more with me before tax during that time period, you will receive a free embellishment from me as a gift, as a thank you for making a purchase with me in the online store. And you'll enter that host code when you check out. And that's how I will know that you will get a free embellishment from me. So be sure to say hello, whether it is live or in the replay. I love to hear from everyone. I love just hearing your comments and talking to you and getting your feedback on projects. Tonight we are going to be working with watercolor pencils here. And these water painters, there are 3 of them. We're going to be using the Angels of Peace stamp set, and this is something that you can find in our mini catalog from July to December 2021. Page 42 of the Stampin' Up! Catalog here, the mini catalog for, we like to call it the holiday catalog, but it's the mini catalog. You can see Angels of Peace right here, and they have some really beautiful suggestions too. I won't spend too much time on that, but just wanted to mention it. So here is the completed project. Let me just show this to you here. This is one of the cards that I made, but I wanted to do over on the watercolor because I had used a Celebration product that is no longer available, and I didn't make it in time to post on my YouTube channel. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it again because we could do lots of beautiful things. And I think watercolor pencils are absolutely perfect for these angels. And I just did a variety of colors here. So you could do all of the colors of your watercolor pencils. The only ones I did not do were white and black in terms of the dress, and I think gray. So let me take this banner down. And let me just do this really quickly in case you don't already know. So my name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. You can find me at stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. And like I had mentioned a few minutes ago, I highly recommend that you join my email list if you're interested in seeing these Facebook projects before they get posted live. Any information that you would like from me in terms of classes and events and new information from Stampin' Up, new host codes, all of that can be found on my email list. Okay, so just going to take that down and we can go ahead and get started here. So I'm just going to walk you through the colors. So what I did was, and let me just show you which watercolor pencil set I have, because there are a few of them that are available in the catalog. So I have the colors that are like Real Red, Calypso Coral, and so on. There are 13 pencils in this particular pack. And here is Pacific Point. And then here, and I'll get into the differences in the dresses in just a moment, but we have Daffodil Delight, Bermuda Bay, Early Espresso, Calypso Coral, Rich Razzleberry, Melon Mambo, Pumpkin Pie, Real Red, and Old Olive. So I tried to do all of the colors, basically. I did some variety with the hair too, where we have the sort of like the brownish hair, some gray hair here, black, we have blonde, I have red hair here. And in terms of the shading on the wings and the bird, I used I believe it's basic gray, but let me just make sure. I used basic gray on all of that. So all of the wing accents and all of the bird accents were in basic gray. And like I said, I'm going to do 1 or 2, color them in live with you here, but I just wanted to mention it. Now, one thing that I did that I don't know if this is something that you want to do or not. When I did this the last time, I had heat embossed it which kind of acts like a natural barrier when you're watercoloring. So you don't have to worry about, the ink smearing or anything like that. And I know that they recommend that you don't use water-based ink with this. You don't want the water to, mess with your ink, with your watercolor, with your water painters. So they recommend like a permanent or an archival ink whenever you're doing watercoloring, and I didn't have one. So I just used my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So I know that this is not a perfect solution, but I just wanted to be upfront and honest with you that I did use the Memento Tuxedo Black and it was okay. I did notice that it smeared in like a few places, but that was if it was very, very heavy on the water. So if you're not too heavy on the water, it shouldn't be a problem. But I would recommend using the proper ink if you have it, in your collection at home. So I am going to use this again now, but you could always do your heat embossing too. I just figured that would take a little bit longer. So, and the other thing I'm going to use is the watercolor paper. So this is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper pack. And that is what I used for all of these. I have not tried to use it on like the basic white thick. Let me know in the comments if you guys do the watercolor pencils and what papers you like to use. Do you stick with watercolor paper or do you use other cardstock too? I would love to know. And one that I wanted to experiment with, but I didn't get a chance to, was the linen. I have a feeling that it would bleed on the linen, but I still wanted to experiment with it. So we'll see if I get to that or not. But okay, so here is our watercolor sheet. I'm just going to set these aside. I'll get photos of all of this up on the blog tomorrow. Okay. And then in terms of our colors, let's see, what color should I do? I particularly loved blue and yellow. So I think I'm going to do those again, if you don't mind. Oh, and let me talk about skin tone too. So let me get out my Pacific Point. Okay, and you can see I got this one and this one down to the nub. Okay, so we're going to get our large angel stamp, which I know I brought over here. The little girl angel is also adorable. I should stamp her too. Let's see. And in the catalog, they used her on a gift tag, which was precious. Okay, but you could use this for pretty much all themes. I do really love the sentiments in this. Very, very sweet. And we do have sort of that Christmas hint here. And then we have sort of these everyday, just these everyday. And then this one is, this could be New Year's, this could be Christmas. But you could also use other sentiments with this stamp set. And for anyone who might have a little one that's dressing up as an angel this year for Halloween, that might be a sweet little card to make them too, especially if you won't be able to be there with them, but you still want to send them a little treat. That's the sweet, sweet version of Halloween and not the scary version, right? Okay, so I am just inking up my stamp and I'm going to go over her a couple of times because she is a large stamp here. And I'll see if I can get you a measurement on this. Okay, and I'm just going to press that down. I really want to make sure that I get the whole stamp. Okay, and it's a little bit light, but that is okay because we're going to do our watercoloring anyway. And this will be the first time that I'm inking the little girl. So let's see. I might have to do a little extra ink here. Such beautiful artwork on this stamp set. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, and then I wanted to do one more of the large angel, and I'll show you just a really basic coloring difference with what I did here with the angels. Some of them are full color, and some of them are literally just traced outline color. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So The number one thing I want to say about this is I am fairly new to watercolor pencils. This is something that I bought like a year ago, but I've really been wanting to try and just never got the chance before I used it on the celebration set. And I love the technique. I think it's beautiful, and you don't have to be a painter or an expert or an artist to use it. You can literally just trace the lines of the artist, and it still turns out really, really beautiful. So let me show you what I mean by the full color versus um, just doing the outline. So on these angels here, okay, so here's a perfect example. If you look at the Daffodil Delight angel, okay, her dress is full color. Like I colored in the entire dress. And then on this old olive dress, the only thing I colored were the outlines. So I literally traced the lines that the artist did and just wet it and let that color just kind of softly wash over the dress. So if you want to keep it simple with that outline, you can see, to me, this looks softer. This looks a little bit more watercolorish. And then with this one, like this is bold. This is like beautiful and bold, bright color, but it is actually still like, activated with the water and done with the watercolor pencils. So we're going to do one of each, and I'll do the same thing. So we'll do full color for her, and then we'll do a blue. We'll do Pacific Point. And she was also full color, but I'm going to do the line version so you guys can see the softer look. Okay. And then we'll do the skin color and the hair. So let me get the yellow first. And the harder that you press with the pencil, okay, so obviously the brighter the color is, but it's also more likely to remain like an obvious line. Okay, so when you start to color in your image, if you want that full color, just put a little bit more pressure on your pencil. This colors like really easily. It really transfers to the paper really well. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to follow those lines. The one thing I didn't anticipate, you guys, is sharpening it. I don't know if I have a sharpener here in my office. I definitely own them, but I think it's with all of Connor's school stuff. Okay. I think we can do it. I think we can get through. So now I'm going to go back in once I get all of the parts of her dress, and I'm going to start coloring the whole thing. Okay. We're doing full color. That means I'm putting some pressure on my pencil. Going all the way down to the end of the dress, and we can soften those lines with the water at the end. But you can see no special anything here, just coloring. Okay, and there we go. Get that bottom of that dress there. Okay. All right, so there are 3 water painters. I'm going to take all the lids off. And I do have water in them. They're about halfway full right now. I don't know if you guys can see that water. So here we have 3 different sized tips. We have this thick tip, this middle one, and then the really thin one. I am going to use the middle one to do the dress. I feel like the big one's a little bit bulky, but if you want to do it faster, and if you're not as concerned about it going outside the lines, then you could use the larger. So all I'm going to do is try to get the water going. I'm just gently pushing. It says push. So I'm just gently pushing here to get my water out. I don't want it to be sopping wet, but I want it to be wet. I don't want it to be dry. Okay, so we can kind of see like a little bit of water there. Okay, so now I'm going to go in, and I'm just kind of doing circular motions here. And I'm going to start coloring in my dress, or I should say the angel's dress or gown. Maybe we should call it a gown. Okay. And then the less water, the more intense the color. So here you can see that ink is bleeding just a little bit. That's why I just wanna go ahead and say one more time, I wouldn't recommend using this ink. I just did not have archival ink, but like Tracy said, we could do the black heat emboss and we wouldn't have this problem. Like it wouldn't be blending in, but it's okay. Okay. And then we're just gonna go all the way with the flow down to the bottom of the dress. I am avoiding the black lines. So if you feel like it's starting to bleed and you don't have the right ink either, you could just avoid the lines. It's fine. Okay. And let me just bring this up so you can see the difference here after it's painted and before. It almost looks like crayon. And then when you color it with the water, it just blends so beautifully. This is really addicting. Just like the Stampin' Blends for me. You guys will have to let me know what your favorite techniques are, but I love coloring. Okay. Okay. And then one other thing that you could do is go back in, and while it's still wet, you can kind of like go over the lines and make it a little bold again. It's hard to tell with my lighting in here, but I'll show you an example of what I did with that. Okay, so two examples of where you're seeing bolder lines are with the Real Red and also with Melon Mambo, where you can see those defined Melon Mambo accents as well as like the softer blended dress. So that is a combination of the watercolor blending and then doing the detail lines and not blending out that color. Okay, so that is number one. I'm going to come back to her in a moment. Now I'm going to show you the softer version where we just work with the outlines. So we're going to literally just follow the lines of the artist. We're not going to completely fill in the dress. So I'm just going to trace around. It's a little bit harder on the arms because they're small. But we're just going to go around, do an outline. I'm not pressing as hard. It's a little bit softer. Slightly thicker line too. Okay, and this doesn't take too long. I feel like the Stampin' Blends take longer, for me anyway, especially in terms of blending. And this is by no means, professional blending. This is just having some fun with watercolor pencils, in a card theme. Okay, so here you can see we've literally just traced the outlines here. And now I'm just going to use my little scrap paper to make sure that I get my color off. Okay, so I have a little bit of excess yellow here. I'm going to get the water out again. Okay. Oops, I just added the yellow back on. I have a tendency to use my hands. When I was in cosmetics, I did that a lot, which probably wouldn't be allowed today. Okay, so you can see how soft this is. Just a much softer look. Okay. And then I'm just blending it and just pulling it around. And if you feel like you need more water, just give it a squeeze or a push. But you can see how it's starting to pick up that color. And I do want to get some more water into the tip there. I don't want it to be sopping wet, so I'm just getting the excess color off, but enough that we can move it, right? So here we go. So, so beautiful. All right. So if you are with me live or even in the replay, just depending on when you're watching, let me know. Do you guys own the watercolor pencils? Do you do this? I would love to hear because I just bought the one set, but I imagine that this would be addicting. I think that this Angels of Peace stamp is perfect for these. And then depending on whether or not you want to fussy cut your angels, or if you just want to, you know, use your like stitched rectangles or circles or something like that and just cut it out in a rectangle or a circle. I recently used the ornate dies, and oh, those would be stunning with this. Okay. All right, so now all we have is her sleeve, it looks like. And you can go back through and layer if you want. So if you want to do a really light-handed round and then go back in, color again, you're going to have to let it dry. But you could go back in a second time once it's dry and then go back in again and layer it. And that is a really beautiful look too. I did not layer any of these angels that I did today though, meaning that I went back and colored it again a second time. Okay, so this is the difference between the full color and then that light-handed color. And for our little girl angel, let's see, what color should we use? What if we did the Melon Mambo? This way we get a little bit of variety here. So I'm going to focus on the softer coloring. Okay, isn't that pretty? So easy, you guys. Okay, so let's talk about their skin tone. You guys can choose, you know, whatever skin tone is right for you. I haven't played around too much with the colors. I just did a basic skin tone piece here. I'm just going to use my regular cardstock here, so just bear with me. Hopefully this will be fine. So I took Calypso Coral and just scribbled it. And then I took Daffodil Delight, and again, I'm just scribbling it, and I have like a little bit of overlap in the middle. So that if I want to grab one color or the other or mix the two. And then using the smaller brush, I just started mixing them to get like an orangey reddish color that I like. And then once it's soft enough, I would color the skin. And this stays wet for a few minutes, so you have time to work with it. Okay. All right. So there we go. And then you guys can tweak that, you know, to get the color that you want. And now I'm going to get the basic gray, which I know I pulled out here. Hang on. Oh, here it is. Right on the edge, it's hiding from me. Okay. So all of the wings have the same basic shading. So it's just basically tracing right on the inner part of the wing here where there would be shadow. And then just kind of, you know, tracing again what the artist created. And depending on the hair color that you want, if you wanted gray, you could add it like we did on this one. And then all of the doves were gray too. I didn't mess too much with the color of the flowers. I really wanted the focus of the color to be on the dress. So I'm just going to go in with my basic gray right into the nooks here of their wings. If you want a sharper tip on your pencil, like when you first get them, I would recommend sharpening it before you start like doing your detail shading. And on the bird, I'm just going to do right like on the breast here of the bird, and then a little on the wing. So just a tiny little hint of that. And then we'll do a different color for the hair. Okay, so I'm just getting the color out here. And we'll just go right into the wing. Start creating that shading. All right, so for her hair, let me see, auburn. Okay, so auburn hair. What I did for the auburn hair was a touch of real red, and I believe I used, let me get her, and I'll just double check. I used a little bit of the Daffodil Delight, I know that, and a little bit of the pumpkin pie. And I think the pumpkin pie is what you really see here. So let's see if I can get a balance going with this again. So I tried to do a little bit of each, and I think that we could pull in a little bit of the early espresso to kind of get like a proper auburn. So let me add in the early espresso and let's see how this looks. But I still want, I'm going to do pumpkin pie because I think Calypso Coral is a little too corally for auburn, but this is one that you can blend and have fun with until you get that combo right. Okay, so I'm going to get my medium tip. Whoops, sorry. I'm going to get my medium tip for this one. Nice and wet. What do we think? Does that look auburnish? That one definitely looks more natural than the other one. The other one's kind of like a fire engine pumpkin-y red. I see why people get into this, you know? I see why they do full-blown watercolor. Okay, so here's the difference. Definitely very, very bright. And this one's a little bit on the softer side. You could go back in and add a little more color if you want. And you can see, like when you're coloring it, it's literally wetting it as it's drawing. It's really cool. Okay. All right, so here are our angels. And then what I did on this card was I fussy cut the angel. And again, you don't have to do that, but I decided to do that for this particular card. So let's do the one with the gold, or the Daffodil Delight dress. It reminds me of gold. And I am going to fussy cut her out. And then I took Sahara Sand And all over the back of the card, I basically just created a pattern. Um, Tracy says, I'm working today. No idea for the weekend, though. Oh my gosh. You'll have to take those dogs out for a walk. Tracy has the cutest dogs. I really miss having pets, you guys. I lived through everybody else with your pets. Okay, so sometimes angels are just good people with kind hearts. You can come up with whatever pattern you like, but what I decided to do with this was I'm just covering the score line here so I don't go over it. Um, so I'm going to go to the score line and I would just stamp off once and then stamp on the card. And it's not necessarily the full sentiment because I'm just trying to get a pattern established. So I'm just going to do that again and again. So that's going to be our background. And then we will bring in our, actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and color her leaves. So let me get the old olive. You guys can see I'm like all over the place, right? I'm going to get my old olive and we're just going to color in the leaves here. And I'm not going to go too crazy because we know I'm going to get the tip clean here. This color will dispense like really easily. And I'll tell you, I'm tempted to put gems in there where the berries are. Okay. And then for our berries, since we did melon mambo, I'm gonna do melon mambo berries. I don't think that I need to color them. I mean, with the watercolor, just because they're so teeny tiny. But if this were traditional Christmas, I would do the classic red and green. Okay, and then there we go. So we have her hopefully complete. Okay, so for my layers here, we did a few different things for the layers. We're going to be using the square vellum doilies as a layering accent. I'm going to be using the brushed metallic cardstock as a layer. And the layer that I pulled here was from another live. On another live, I had cut, and embossed a piece with the bark embossing folder, and this is what was left over. So I like to grab these leftover pieces and use them on other projects. So let me get you the rectangle size on this. Let's see if that will fit. Okay, so that's going to fit. So I am going to cut another one of these and let me get my ruler. So the metallic rectangle is going to be, the brush metallic rectangle is 2 3/4 by, looks like 4 1/8. And then I'll give you the bigger size. We're going to do a piece of the Daffodil Delight Designer Series paper. This is Pacific Point. Again, these are the stitched rectangles. Okay, so the sizing on this one is 3 1/2 by 4 7/8. Okay. I think that this is a really nice card layout for pretty much every color of angel that we did. So if you like to make card sets for people and give that to them as a gift so that they have cards to give out for the holidays, that would be incredible. So we're just going to put these down. By the way, this is the bright 6x6 designer series paper that I used in the Daffodil Delight, just in case you wanted the specific information on this paper. So I went in the triangular shape. You could do the square too, but I decided to do it this way because it basically goes tip to tip here. And I really liked the way that that looked. So I just put a little bit of the Stampin' Seal right in the middle. Just line that up, press this in. And then for the angel, prop her up on dimensionals. I'm going to use several. You could use your strips too, because she's larger. Okay. She's a pretty good size. I should measure and see how big she is. I love bold stamps. All right, so then I kind of had her offset, like just kind of like slightly off to the side. And that's so that we have enough room to put in our sentiment. And I'm just going to stamp it in the Memento Tuxedo Black. On this card, I did it in Pacific Point. Just going to get the ink off of that really quick. Woo, that was inky. Okay. Love the font on that. And I'm pretty sure every demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Loves fonts. Okay, here we go. And then I'm going to get 2 more dimensionals. And I'm just going to tuck it right in, slightly under her dress and her elbow there. All right, and then there are our cards. So let me pull that off to the side. So I am going to put the other ones together. I won't do it here on the live because we'll be here all night, but I will take photos of all of them finished. I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. So okay, so that's it. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Let me put up my host code just one more time, just in case you didn't see it in the beginning. This is my host code. If you spend 50 or more with me before tax, you'll receive a free embellishment from me. Just enter that host code when you check out of the online store. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to contact me. This is my email address if you need to reach out to me. And again, I do have my link to sign up to my email list in the comments. So let me see if I can find it. If you're watching a replay, if you're watching the replay on YouTube, the link to my email list is in the description box on my YouTube channel. And I would appreciate it if you guys would like, subscribe wherever it is that you're watching. That does a lot for the video, kind of gets it out there. And I will see you again on Sunday at 7:30 p.m.